Show just won't be the same without him.
And it's gotten so you can't pretend. Your tears keep giving you away, but you're praying for a better day. Why should I go through these changes? Yeah, but they don't dig the urgency. Yeah, that this is an emergency. Yeah, so make it hurt. Deliver the word.
This is the County Barbershop coming to you live from Prince George's County. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m., and the doors to the shop are open. Here we give what we call that unofficial cut. I'm still trying to figure that out, but that's what we do. This is Phil Lee. I'm your host. With me is my co-host.
Nadir Nasheed.
And somewhere in the stratosphere audience is Gene the Shark Eyes LeGrand, but we don't know exactly where he technically is. In other words, we are experiencing some technical difficulty. And I tell you all something. I think podcasts have their place. They are indeed the future of communications in the world, really. But they come with certain technical issues that on this side, we don't seem to have a lot of control over. So we're going to always ask the audience to please bear with us. And in case the audience is asking yourself, no, we did not get the lowest grade podcast. We think we have one of the better ones, but technical issues are technical issues. So to do some housekeeping, first, back to this car theft thing. And I got to tell you all, I'm now looking at this Ring network, and there are a great deal of break-ins, vandalism of vehicles. Now, I think it gets to a point where we've got to ask law enforcement, well, what are you really doing about it? Now, I'm not one of those that say that the police are supposed to solve any problems. That's not what I said. I said the question to be asked and answered is anything being done about them? Because a lot of times, if law enforcement would advise community of what they're doing, community can often pitch in and give a hand. I will tell you that there is too much of this vandalism, and it is everywhere. So you have a problem there where you literally cannot park your car in your driveway and feel that it is secure. So from the Vehicle Theft Prevention Council of Maryland, we have to keep asking you, please don't leave any valuables in plain sight in your car. You can do some things to take preventive measures. We are continuing to give away the air tags, and we told you the air tags, should your car be stolen, unfortunately, if that should happen, the police are able to recover your vehicle quickly. So, we're going to try to do our part. We're going to keep on getting this message out. But as like the police, we have to ask you all listeners, please do your part. Don't leave your laptops, your purses. I told you all about the story of the lady who went into the post office to mail a letter and left her purse on the front seat of her car. Thieves know where to look. You got to do something about that. Okay, that's for the housekeeping part. I apologize. I was out last week. There's just a bit of business that everybody's having to take care of, but my understanding is that Gene and Nadia brought you all the Barbershop Uncut, and so you got a show last week. Listen, there is a growing problem, and I don't think we can or should act like it's not a problem. The country, you all just be mindful. We went 4 years of the Biden administration, and I don't think, Nadir, we had any protests, any outrageous folks. I don't think we had any of that for 4 years. Now, when Trump was in office, Gene, you can't come in. We had the same problem when Trump was in office before. Every week there were protests about one thing or the other.
Jay, you can't protest about one thing
And they did put Gene
or the other.
We are right back to where we were before.
We are right back to where we were before.
People, I said to you all we were having technical difficulties, and Nadir is trying to clear that up. And it seems like, well, we're trying to fix it. Listen, we don't know how much the country can withstand this kind of protest. I am a product of the 60s, and I learned at a very young age that unfortunately, it seems that protest and unrest, civil unrest, is the only thing that America seems to understand. I had a conversation with the co-host today. We talked about Capitol Hill. We talked about our politicians and what they are or are not doing. And I will say to you listeners, while the president may be able to ignore protests to some degree, Capitol Hill cannot. See, the president does not have to go back to a state or a city or county and confront or be confronted by his constituents. But all of your senators and congressmen, they do. And so I think what we're beginning to see, we saw it and they did 2 weeks ago when, and I forget who the group was, there was a lot of women. Excuse me, please. What we saw was thousands of women, and I will note, majority appeared to be white, who were protesting, and it's getting to be so much, I can't even remember what they were protesting about, but the numbers were humongous. And I can only believe that with the things that this administration are doing, these protests are not only going to continue, are going to grow. What I want to say to people is this. And Dr. King, he made it clear when he said sometimes creative protest is what it takes. I want to ask everybody to be creative. Listen, people, we don't need to burn things up. We don't need to hurt people. We need to send a message to Capitol Hill that the congressmen and the senators understand clearly. Now we need to stop. Everybody needs to stop and think, how do we make that message clear to them? It's going to take both Republicans and Democrats to come together and tell the individual that's occupying 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that they simply cannot let this go on any longer. I am extremely concerned, Nadir, because it appears that the resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is now appearing to be willing to defy the order from the Supreme Court. When that happens, people, you got a problem. When your legislative and your judicial branch of government are ignored, you are headed quickly towards a dictatorship if you don't stop it. That is the truth. that old poem of, and then they came for you. Let there be no doubt in your mind. We don't know what the next ethnicity will be in his crosshairs. The lies, the deceit are getting to be too much. Nadir, I looked at this thing on the news where the president from Venezuela, or wherever they're holding that guy at in prison, sat there and told the resident of 1600 that he refused to return that guy to the United States. Nadir, you know, that is nonsense. No small country like that is going to tell this crazy man that they're not going to return a citizen who was sent there by mistake. But he told that president, this is what you're going to say. You're going to tell people that it's not my fault, it's your fault. You're not going to return him. And so he's doing what he does. He puts the onus on everybody else. But the fact is this, I don't think anybody with even a 5th grade education believes that this president of Venezuela or that whatever country is telling him he's not going to return that citizen. Back to the audience, Nadir. What will creative protest look like? And what results are we hoping for? I'm only saying to everybody, and for those that are listening, please try to pass this on. We do need to follow Dr. King's vision of creative protest. There is one thing that this country understands more than anything else, and I'll give you this scenario up front. You can commit a homicide, kill somebody, and get 25 years in prison. But if you go take some money out of one of these banks, you might do the rest of your life in prison because it is a capitalistic country. These people care about money. So how do you get this person at 1600 to understand we're not going to tolerate this dictatorial type of government he's trying to impose on us? Maybe we need, and listen, we don't have to shop anywhere. We don't have to spend any money. You saw what happened with Wall Street when he put those tariffs in place. And what did the bully do? As soon as Wall Street started having problems, he reversed his decision. I'm not trying to lead anything. I'm only saying to people, we've got to give some thought to what we're doing, what we cannot do. And I'll tell you all right off the break, I just had to pay taxes. Do you know for the first time since I've been paying taxes, and I ain't never got no money back, that ain't part of it. But for the first time, I had to ask myself, what am I paying for? Am I paying my money for this person to treat American citizens the way he's treating them? Am I paying taxes that allows him to fire 100,000 people, to put these people out of their jobs, some of them out of their houses? They will lose their health care. Their children won't be able to go to school. They can't take care of their parents. Is that what I am writing a check for? I got a big problem with that. I have a really big problem with that. I have a big problem listening to Congress on Capitol Hill who are playing games with DC's budget. That is their money. The people, the residents of DC, they paid that money into those coffers for themselves. They're not asking the federal government to give them anything. But I guarantee you that resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, he's told those Republicans, play around, toy with their budget for as long as you can, because he wants Mayor Bowser to come begging. That's the kind of individual that he is. He wants her to beg. My hope is that Bowser will do and this is the next subject. My hope is that Bowser will stop take stock in herself and where she comes from. She's a Washingtonian. We don't tolerate this kind of stuff. And tell the people of DC we simply will not have money to do much of anything. So everybody hunker down and let's get ready to ride this wave. The mistake Bowser made, and I believe this, she should never have allowed those congressmen and him to force her to take away Black Lives Matter. You see, that area, it was not just the name of the street. It was what it symbolized. It was what it meant. She should never have allowed it, because now they're going to do like bullies do. They're going to try the next thing. Now they're going to try to hold up her money. But the next thing, and this is what I hope Bowser is looking at. Harvard University told the resident at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to go to hell and keep his $2 billion. Because he wanted Harvard. We talking about Harvard. And no, I don't see a hell of a lot of difference between Harvard and Howard, so don't y'all get it twisted. But he told Harvard that he wanted them to stop the protesting. He wanted them to talk about and tell what the children could and could not protest for. He told them that they would no longer agree to let different people into the college. He basically wanted to turn Harvard into Trump College, which, by the way, when you mention Trump College, that's the college that was nothing more than a big fraud. But Harvard did what I hope other universities will do. They told him to go to hell. They said they're not going to do it. They're not going to surrender their integrity to be a part of this nonsense that he's trying to impose on people. This is what Dr. King talked about. You have to stop and think closely about creative protests. We don't have to burn up anything. All we got to do sometimes is say no, 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 and no. Other universities, and Barack Obama has even chimed in on this, and he's encouraging other universities to do the same thing. This is the way you stop him. Do you know what the alumni of Harvard University looks like? Do you know how many Harvard graduates are on Capitol Hill today as senators or congressmen? Do you know the pressure that they are feeling from the alumni groups about what is going on? To think about what can we do to send a strong message to Wall Street. Now, I'm not without understanding. I'm not. And sometimes it takes a great deal to accept something you have to understand. While I'm talking to you all about creative protest, it dawned on me at 3 o'clock one morning earlier this week, Trump is already leading a protest. See, sometimes people, we don't look at it for what it is. Yes, it's true. Black people are usually busy trying to stand on their business. But maybe you better stop. You know, when I was on week before last, I talked about maybe it's not the black folks who sat down beside that oak tree and went to sleep. Maybe these white folks are taking a look around and they don't like what they see. And when I say white folks, please don't misunderstand me. And I'm not going to be one of those that say, oh, some of my best friends are white. That's not what I'm saying to you. I believe people are people. But I believe that Trump, I'm sorry, that person at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is doing his best to rally people Gene, who unfortunately is not able to be on, he's listening. Excuse me, when I talk a lot, this is what happens. Gene talks about the system, the American system. I read and listened to this person, this professor, when she talked about America was not discovered. The American system was established and discovered. That system and our forefathers, I'm not going to take anything away from them because they couldn't see to the future, but our forefathers, as they're called, and in fact, they did, you and I would have to say, well, they wasn't no forefather of mine, okay?
Absolutely.
But they could not have foreseen where America and the American system would be today. But the truth is, what the resident of 1600 knows, because it was taught to him by his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, is exactly what Gene has said. The system was not designed for anybody other than white folks.
The ultra rich.
In fact, white folks weren't known as white folks until they got here. And when they established the American system, they attached the white people. They weren't known as white people in Europe. They were just Europeans. Now, when I say sometimes you have to understand to understand, Thomas Jefferson told some of the forefathers way back when, and I'll paraphrase, slavery is going to get us into trouble one day. Because if these people ever shed the chains and the bondage of slavery, we're going to have hell to pay. In the scheme of things, when you think about it, Nadia, it makes really perfectly good sense. You've kept your foot on the necks of a people for so long that you made them learn to struggle how to succeed, even with your foot on their neck. And Black people have done exactly that. Gene talked about it last week or the week before. Gene talks a lot. I can't remember what he said. When he talked about you can't take anything from a people who never had it. What is the old record, Nadir? Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You can't take something away from a people who never had it. That's one part of it. But it's a big mistake to try to take something away from people who have had it. That's that middle class. That is a class that the resident of 1600 and his people would like to get rid of. Okay? But it's not going to happen. Because you can't just take it away from a people. You cannot push a human being so far. But now let me go back to my point. White folks look around today and they look back over time. Now, dear, those that are educated, it's not everybody, they look and they see what they have done that is so wrong. For instance, the Civil War. They had to realize and accept they would not win that war without those Black people. They had to have them fighting. And so they looked at it as an opportunity to have more people fighting for the North. But at the same time, what white America didn't understand was you gave Black people the opportunity to exercise manhood. See, you can't take that from them after the war is over. You tried with Jim Crow. You even tried with the 13th Amendment. But Black folks got smart. They listened to people like Carter G. Woodson. They went to school. They got something called an education. And Martin Luther King was absolutely right. You cannot take that away from people. You can't. And educated people, they have the ability to become progressive. Now, World War II, they didn't want Blacks fighting. The only thing Blacks could do was cook and work in the warehouse and until they realized in 1939, 1940, we can't win this war without them. You look at different people like the Red Tails. White folks, you had to let these black people fly those planes. You didn't have no trouble. You thought that you would let them fly the missions that would get them shot down so the whites wouldn't have to do it, but they fooled you again. Yeah. And even though you treated black soldiers who came home like dirt, they persevered. Because in the heart of hearts, they knew they could. Because the French people told them they could. Because other European countries told the black folks, they gave them big welcomes in other countries, except where they came from. White Americans still didn't quite get it, because remember that oak tree? I tell you the absolute truth, when that Civil War was over, they laid down and went to sleep. Because then came Vietnam. They done got themselves into a big mess in this communist country fighting. Black people ain't give a damn about no communism. We didn't care about capitalism. But white folks done picked this battle with communist countries. Now they got this thing in Vietnam where the French done got their ass kicked over there. White folks can't sit by and let their other white counterparts get, so they take on Vietnam, but then they got the problem again. We need them black people again. But the black people have gotten smaller. They've gotten smaller. See, in Civil War, they was lucky if they gave them 3 stripes for sergeant. And then in World War II, they had to make some of them lieutenants and a couple of captains. But Vietnam, black folks said, oh no, we want some eagles on our shoulders and some stars. But you understand how black people are progressing. They are. When the war was over in Vietnam, white soldiers came home and extremely upset that people were spitting on them, calling them baby killers. I'm not going to tell you it didn't bother black soldiers, but you know the truth? Black soldiers left here, people were spitting on them before they even left out of here. Wasn't new to them. White soldiers came home and they faced their own people. They faced their own demons. Now, here we are. You've had a black Secretary of State, Colin Powell. You've had your first black president. You've had the Congress and the Senate still having some trouble, but blacks are progressing. You've got black mayors, we got, well, what do we have? 2 black governors, 1. If you were, now let me try to bring the point home, Nadia. But Nadia, if you was one of them white folks who said, hang the niggas, don't let them go to school, don't give them no jobs. Nadia, sometimes I'm telling you, sometimes to have an understanding, we have to understand why. Nadia, just try to imagine as hard as it will be for you. But if you were white, wouldn't you be afraid too?
I guess it would depend on what community I came from being white, because a lot of them is on his team. So this is the reason why they aren't pushing back on the things that he's doing, or somehow if they're not directly on the team, they benefiting from what it is and the things that he's putting in place.
Well, Nadia, let me interject, because I think it's more than that. Those that are on his team, that fear does not just start and stop with him. That's why you now have these Karens. White folks have, when you've done a people as wrong as they've done a people, and they did, it's hard to sleep at night. Okay? It's hard to live on a lily white block forever, and then all of a sudden a black family move in, because you have to give the impression to that black family that you don't want them there, but the truth is you're afraid of them. You are, because they know. Why do you think they don't want to teach the critical race theory? They're really trying to, he doesn't want the names of black soldiers on the rolls at Arlington Cemetery who did extraordinary things. Because what he has to do is the same thing Adolf Hitler tried to do. He has to give the next upcoming generation of white children, he needs to let them believe white, black, we still are superior. Black folks didn't do anything. So brings me to this point. Now he's going after what he calls the Latinos, the Hispanics. Black folks, if y'all think that you're not on his hit list, then you done sat down beside that oak tree and held their hands and went to sleep also. I'm reading a book.
It's hard not to think that we aren't on the list anytime he talk about sending American citizens to do time in other countries.
Well, you see, it's how much are we going to take? I'm reading this book for such a time. The title of the book is For Such a Time as This. And this is about a Jewish rabbi who is talking about what Jewish people have gone through. And in summary, what he basically said is, it's always been about good and evil. It has. He is an evil man. He's not going to do anything good. He's never going to do anything good. He doesn't know how to do anything good. It is not in his DNA to do anything good. So black people, don't think he's not going to come for you. He knows who he fired when he sent those government workers home. He knows exactly who they were. What the Jewish rabbi is saying is, he's telling his fellow Jews, don't dare think that he won't come after us also. Don't listen to the nonsense about he's pro-Israel. See, he's a liar. He will say and tell you anything he needs to say to you. Back to where I started, and then that day I'm going to give it to you. Let's not let the vision, the legacy, the dream of Dr. King or Malcolm X, let's not let it be in vain. People, start talking to whoever you think will listen to you. What is going on, and wake people up. Let people know they can make a difference. For those who have a lot of people listening to them, let's talk about creative protest. I want to say to Al Sharpton and that group, that's a generation before me, creative way to get America's attention. And if that is what we have to do, then we have to do as we did with the bus boycott, but be more constructive with it and make it more efficient. I want to say to all of us, and this is not just for Black people, this is about good people. I want to say to good people, don't sit by and expect somebody else to do this work for you, because evil people depend on that. They depend on you thinking, oh, we got preachers and we got deacons and we got this and we got that. Let them fight. No, don't make that mistake. You all saw those old white women who came out in protest 2 weeks ago. I think you're going to see more of it as this weather breaks. You've got the fired federal employees. You got the people who are losing their health insurance. You got the police who ain't happy either. Okay? They ain't got past him for giving those people who killed those police officers on January 6th. You got a whole lot of people who are angry, and they have every right and reason to be angry. We all should be angry when we see evil rear the ugly head of evil. Strike back. I go back to the book of Cain and Abel. Nobody understood why one brother killed another one other than it was evil. It was an evil thing to do. That was not something they couldn't talk out, couldn't discuss, couldn't come to some kind of a agreement. It was evil. got to take a stance. And it's not a matter of when, it's about now. It is about now. You have to look at a person like the person at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. He's 79 years old, and the truth is, he doesn't care a lot about what happens 10 years from now, because he knows more than likely he will not be here. He's an angry person. He's probably been an angry person his entire life. He was taught to be angry. He's been a person who's really frowned every time he saw somebody smile, because he could not understand what would a person who has so much less than him have a reason to smile for. You got to understand what's happening here. He has woken up these folks who went to sleep, and he's telling them we're in trouble. White folks, y'all are not in trouble. Let me just put it on the table. You're not in trouble, because we have not forgot that you stood with us in the 60s. We haven't forgot that. But evil, you are in trouble. You are. Say to all of us, black, white, brown, or whatever color you may be, evil has reared its ugly head. Here, I'm going to give it to you. Listen, audience, I apologize. Sometimes my emotions run high. I've gotten older, I have, and I've enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed living in this country. You know, I remember when they were talking about, oh, let's go buy a ship and everybody going back to Africa. And I was one of the first ones to say, I ain't going back to no damn Africa. This is home. And I still feel that way. This is home. This is my children's home. This is my grandchildren's home. To do. But remember, we don't need to hurt anybody. It's as the OJs used to talk about, the almighty dollar. That's where we need to focus and put our attention. Nadir, I'm going to give it to you.
I appreciate you, Chief, letting me hold the mic for a minute. DMV, as you heard, our own Chief back in the seat because he wasn't here last week with us. He became the microphone strangler today. He held it down. He made some valid points in where we are today and where we used to be. And since I'm not old enough to actually have partaken in some of the events that he spoke on, I do recognize that there's a difference. And the difference is, it seems that back then, you had people that could mobilize other communities because everybody was tired. They were mad. They was frustrated. They was upset. The little bit of momentum that they was making was taken from them. Fast forward to now, you had a lot of people who was complacent. They was happy. They was joyful. They was content. They were building off of the government facilities around the country and really didn't have a reason to be mad or frustrated or have a reason to fight for something. So that's a different caliber of individual that we're talking about today as opposed to then. He and I and Gene was having a discussion earlier today about Congress and Capitol Hill. And I made the statement that the individuals in Congress, unless they find a way or figure out a way to all come together to stop this maniac, then I don't see anything getting better anytime soon. In fact, I think the only thing that will save us from him is if one day we wake up and they have to put the flags down at half staff. Because otherwise, as long as he have the opportunity to control the media, control the country, control the Congress, as well as other countries, we're going to get what we're getting. We're going to see what we see. The protests that are happening around the country, they're not large enough. They're not mad enough. They're not frustrated enough. And to his point, they don't reflect enough of us. We seem to be the people that fall back and wait. And I don't know why. Because we have a lot less than what they have, and we have a lot more to lose than what they do. So when you listen to us, people, we really want you to hear that what we're saying to you is the time is now, not tomorrow, not when you get that email stating that you might be losing your job, because you know friends, you know family that have already lost their jobs. I don't even work in the government, but I know people that have lost their jobs, have taken the buyouts, and I know people that are contemplating on taking the buyouts. And I don't know anyone that was ready to go. In fact, a lady down the street from me just got the job over at the Naval Yard. A year. Her last day is Friday. I know her personally. I know she is not in position to be without a job, despite the monies that they may or may not be giving her after she leaves. I know that she's not old enough to have even contemplating on leaving the government within the next 5 to 7, maybe even 10 years. So each day we wake up, I'm going to make a strong suggestion, and that is for y'all to pay attention. There was a time when I wouldn't focus on the news because I was tired of hearing a bunch of negativity. But now I look at it because I need to know what's going on. Are they giving us the freshest version? Are they giving us the uncut version? Absolutely not. They're giving us what they want us to know. But what we're hearing is enough, people, for us to start making the necessary changes that we need to, because if we don't, and I said this today earlier in the conversation that Chief and Gene and I was having, it appears that we are heading back towards slavery. And it may be a different form of slavery, but slavery is slavery. They may not be whipping us with whips or chains, or, you walking around with half of an outfit. No, but you may be working in factories for the ultra rich, getting the bare minimum so that you too can feel like a foreigner in your own country. And when I say feel like a foreigner, the reason that many of them come over here is because they're chasing the American dream. Today, we don't even know what the American dream is anymore, because it's being taken away from many people who thought that they were on track to build the American dream. Again, people, we come on here every Wednesday night and we try to give y'all topics that is beneficial for you, your family, and the community. And we do this because we want to see the change. So now it's up to you to, have these community meetings. I was watching Cassidy have a group meeting. I looked at the room. Nobody looked like me. But guess what? They was on that man. They wasn't giving him no air. They was questioning him about how can you stand by and allow a U.S. citizen to be extradited out of the country with no due process. He gave them some old BS answer they wasn't going for it. They let them know they was pissed. They let them know that you're not doing your job. You're standing around and quote unquote being a punk for a dude that's evil, like the chief said. This dude is evil. He been controlling the news for what, the last 12, 15 years? This man complexion has never changed. He has been orange since day one. And I don't know about y'all, but I associate the orange man with the devil. So the same way the people in these meetings with these congressmen are starting to get frustrated and share their displeasures with these legislators, it's the same way we need to start doing what we have to do in the streets in our community. Marjorie Taylor Greene, at her meeting the other day, them people wasn't having it. They was letting her know, y'all coming up with these BS excuses about everything that Trump do and accepting him as some ruler. One man got tased because he was so pissed off. Now he looked like us, the one that got tased. He was definitely a black man. Why he felt like he could go off like he was white, I don't know. But at any rate, people, we need y'all to get frustrated. We need you to get tired. We need you to start standing up, because if you don't, then you'll accept and fall for anything. Hey, Juwan. And y'all know, if you read books, but then they often say, if you want to hide something from us, put it in the book. But for those that have read books, for those have looked at documentaries, we don't want to go back to where we came from. And we have the power, we have the ability, we even have the money to put a stop to this. So I hope that y'all are hearing us. And I thank the microphone strangler for giving me a few minutes to share my opinion with y'all this evening. I'm going to turn it back over to him, let him take us out, and then we got to hit up Gene wherever Gene is so he can close us out with the music. But I appreciate y'all coming on with us and spending time with us every Wednesday. We're going to keep coming back. We're going to keep giving y'all the real. We would like for y'all to start interacting with us. Shoot us some questions, email, get on YouTube, shoot us some questions. We'll respond. That's what we're here for. I appreciate y'all time. Chief, back to you.
So the microphone strangler, he was really talking about Gene. I'm gonna tell you all that.
No, I'm talking about you. I get it twisted.
I think, Brother Nadir, you made a profound plea to people, and I saw the media piece of Marjorie Greene. I saw the guy that was tased. I saw the white guy that they had to take out in handcuffs. I think, Nadir, I want to think differently in just one way. I like to believe that, and the reason is I've been there. I like to believe that black guy did not care that they were going to possibly tase him. He did what needed to be done. Now, the reason I say I've seen it, because as a product of the 60s, I had to face the billy clubs and the dogs. And there was some who say, you're a fool. But I would say to them, well, if I'm a fool, I was out there with a whole lot of fools. We stood for something and we took the knots to prove it. In fact, show me your knots. Show me your whelps. Then you can talk to me about being a fool. I like to believe, Nadir, that that brother helped to set the stage to let it be known, you're going to have to tase me. That's what you're going to have to do. Because Marjorie Green, and you said it clearly, Nadia, that brother was sending a message to Marjorie Green. I don't care who you are, but you're not going to sit here in my face and talk nonsense to me. I'm not going to accept evil. I'm not. And what law enforcement must understand, people like Bull Connor from the 60s, he learned it the hard way. Do you think that when they tased that black man, that didn't make its rounds in a way that it would never have if they had not done it? You understand what I'm saying, Nadia? You're talking about that Marjorie, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but your emphasis on that Marjorie Green meeting was that black man being tasered. You understand? That's something you let everybody else know that happened who may not have seen the news. So when you tell people it's time to be angry, let that be something for you all to think about. But I have to also give credit, and I will give credit. The other guy, a white guy, well, they may not have tased him, but they didn't cut him no husk either. But he stood up against evil. And for him, the white man, he let all of his people know, I'm not going to sit here and listen to this, because what she is saying, it does not affect just 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different people. Evil is evil. It's that simple. So he stood up also. So my hope is that the next time she has a meeting, because you got to fake something. Marjorie Green did not anticipate that problem.
Yeah, I don't think she did either.
She did not anticipate that. So you can bet when she left out of there, she had something else that she needed to think about. But law enforcement, I guarantee you, when that night was over, there was a big discussion, because I got to believe that there's a commander somewhere who says you all should never have tased that man with the media looking. You shouldn't have done it. So again,
homeboy wasn't going quietly though.
No, he wasn't.
And they couldn't handle him. And that's the problem with a lot of law enforcement. They not in shape to handle their job.
But see, Nadine and I've had conversations. You know, a lot of these guys, their spouses have lost their jobs also. They ain't happy with this madness that's being said. They're not happy about it at all. But they also understand, as Bull Connor and in the South had to understand in 1960. You giving these people a platform by doing these things to them, you're going to bring more attention to this from people who weren't thinking about it. And that's what you did tonight. Marjorie Green could never have imagined that somebody like Nadir Rashid was going to bring attention to what happened at her meeting. You didn't even talk about what she talked about. You talked about what happened. That's how we deal with these people on Capitol Hill. And not just the Republicans. Audience, don't get me wrong, because I got a big problem right now with my Democrats. It's time for them to start raising hell. It is. You got to throw political correctness out the window, because these folks are not playing a game. You got to listen to what Gene the Shark Eye said to you. This system was not made for you, but that does not mean that we cannot change a system. We can change it. We talked to you all months ago about Black Wall Street. It changed the system. We talked to you all about Chocolate City. It changed the system. We can bring about change. So in summary, I'm going to hope that we will continue with, every week, and a lot goes into podcasting. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's something I'm sure that the three of us think about all week long. As Nadir said, And I understand his not wanting to look at news. I mean, it took me a long time after this last election to turn the news back on. But we have to look at what it is they do. You must know what the enemy is doing. Looking at the news does not mean you agree with them. So, podcast. I'd like to challenge all of our fellow podcasters. I know many of you talk about a lot of the urgencies that you're trying hard to deliver the word that needs to be delivered. But I would ask all of you, let's put some emphasis on it, because there's something else that Nadia said that's most important. And you find this in any kind of a warfare, if you will. If you can kill communications, you can take people by surprise. He can't stop podcasting. He ain't figured it out yet, but don't think he's not trying. Next, he will come after us. But let's use this platform to get into social media, to get into the living rooms, the bedrooms, the rec rooms, the barbershops, the hair salons, the grocery stores. Let's get people to listen. Have to do. So I hope we'll continue. We will continue this conversation. We'll also do our best to keep you up to speed with local news. With local news right now, it is no better. It isn't. As you all hear in the background, the engineers that our time for this Wednesday, April 16th, is over. But the conversation is just beginning. The question to be asked is, what's going on, people? What is going on? This is Phil Lee, the host of the County Barbershop, with my co-host
Nadia Nasheed and Gene LeGrand in the background.
Oh, it's been great to start it on. Gene, if you establish this somewhere, take us home.
We don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love and here today. Picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality.